June 27th, 1645. A court official kneels beside a body. He writes what he sees. His entire body was black. Blood flowed from all 7 orifices of his face. He looked like someone who had been drugged to death. A scribe wrote that in the royal annals, knowing the king would read it. To understand why that sentence matters, we need to go back 8 years. December 48단시. The Qing army crosses the northern border. They don't stop at the fortresses. They bypass them entirely. In less than a week, they reach the capital. On January 30th, 1637, the king of a 500-year dynasty kneels in the snow. 3 full prostrations, 9 kowtows. Before an emperor, he had called a barbarian. But that wasn't the worst of it. No fewer than 500,000 Koreans were taken as prisoners of war to Qing territory. In the outskirts of Shenyang, a market appeared. Families could come and buy their people back. The price? Up to 1,500 nyang per person, a decade of earnings for a common household. The government sent 3 official missions. They brought back 2,000 people. Out of 500,000, 2,000. And then there was the crown prince, Sohyeon, 24 years old, first in line to the Joseon throne. He didn't have to go, but he volunteered. The Shenyang diary records his words. If it secures the state and protects the throne, I will go. Most people assume he spent those years waiting, surviving, counting days. But here's what most people don't know. What Sohyeon actually did in Shenyang was more remarkable than anything he could have done from the palace. 18 rooms, 500 people. That was the Korean compound in Shenyang, the Shimyangkwan. Crown prince, officials, servants, all crammed into a space that could barely hold a small family. No budget from Seoul, no supply line. The Qing emperor made that clear. Feed yourselves. So Sohyeon did. In 1641, the Qing court allocated him farmland, eventually over 1,000 units across 6 separate plots. He hired Korean prisoners directly from the Shenyang slave market, paid their captors, put them to work. The harvest grew year by year. The Shenyang diary records it without drama, matter-of-factly, the way you record something that works. But the farm was only the beginning. Crown Princess Kang, Sohyeon's wife, was running a trade operation out of the compound gate. Korean paper and cotton cloth. To Qing officials and nobility, these were luxury items. The Shenyang diary says the area in front of the compound was never empty of merchants. The compound had become a marketplace, and the profits went back into the same market they came from. Sohyeon used the money to buy Koreans out of slavery, brought them onto the farm, let them earn their freedom. No official tally survives, but the pattern is documented across years of diary entries. A systematic, ongoing operation that outlasted every government ransom mission combined. Now, the moment that changes everything. September 1645. The Qing court moves its capital to Beijing. Sohyeon goes with them. He visits the Imperial Observatory, and there he meets a German Jesuit priest named Johann Adam Schall von Bell. Schall is 53. He has lived in China for 26 years. He has just been appointed director of the Imperial Bureau of Astronomy. The 2 men spend 70 days in conversation. When Sohyeon prepares to leave for Korea, Schall sends him off with gifts. Books on astronomy and mathematics, Catholic doctrine, an image of Christ, and a terrestrial globe. A crown prince who had never left East Asia, holding a map of the entire world. He told Schall, "It is as though heaven has guided us to this meeting." He promised that when he became king, he would publish Western scientific texts. He would allow Catholic missionary activity. He would open Korea to the world. That was 1644, 224 years before Japan's Meiji restoration. February 1645. Sohyeon returns home after 8 years. His father, King Injo, does not embrace him. The Injo-sil록 records a confrontation. The king hurled an inkstone at his son, the kind of gesture that ends a conversation. Injo rejected the Western books, the globe, the ideas. What Sohyeon saw as the future Injo saw as contamination. April 23rd. Sohyeon falls ill. 3 days later, he's dead. He is 33 years old. He has been home for 61 days. And then, one by one, everyone around him disappears. Crown Princess Kang, the woman who had run the trade empire in Shenyang, who had ransomed hundreds of her own people, was accused of planting shamanistic curse objects in the palace, of trying to poison the king. She was executed by poison, April 30th, 1646, 13 months after her husband. Her mother and 4 brothers were beaten to death. Their 3 sons, ages 12, 8, and 4, were exiled to Jeju Island. The court historian who recorded their exile wrote, "Were they not the king's grandsons? A young child was sent to plague-ridden Jeju, only to die there. This is grievous." The 2 older boys were dead within the year. 6 months after Sohyeon's death, Injo named a new heir, not Sohyeon's son, his own second son, Bongrim, who became King Hyojong. King Injo never visited his firstborn son's tomb, not once, for the rest of his reign. Now, the question the records refuse to answer. Was it murder? In 2024, a team of 10 forensic pathologists at Seoul National University reviewed 5 primary documents: the royal annals, the palace diary, the Shenyang records. Their conclusion: not poison, sepsis, triggered by pneumonia. Root cause: likely an autoimmune condition, possibly adult-onset diabetes, that had been building since his years in Shenyang. The blackening, post-mortem decomposition, misread by observers who had never seen it before. The blood from 7 orifices, a common finding in decomposing bodies. Death by natural disease. Published in the Korean Journal of Legal Medicine, Volume 48, Number 3, 2024. But here's where the history refuses to close neatly. The attending physician, the one who diagnosed malaria and administered the acupuncture treatments in Sohyeon's final days, was not punished. Under normal Joseon protocol, a royal physician whose patient died faced automatic punishment. He wasn't touched. And that physician had been introduced to court by Injo's favorite royal concubine, the same woman who was at open war with Crown Princess Kang. 10 forensic pathologists read 380-year-old diary entries and conclude natural causes. One historian reads the same entries and asks, then why wasn't the doctor punished? Both are working from the same documents. The only evidence that could settle this, Sohyeon's remains, lies in a tomb in Goyang, Gyeonggi Province, called Sogyeongwon. It has never been opened. Here is what we know for certain. A crown prince spent 8 years in an enemy capital. He built something from nothing, a farm, a trade network, a liberation fund. He brought people home when his government couldn't. He held a map of the entire world and made a promise to a German priest about what Korea could become. He came home, and 61 days later, he was gone. History remembers the kings who ruled. Sohyeon never got the chance. What would Korea have looked like if he had? This has been Korea Explained. The more you know Korea, the more you want to know.